Well, it's Friday the 21st of September, and clearly there are 3 holes in the ground. We are fast approaching the autumn equinox, the harvest moon and harvest festival. As the winds batter the UK, it is as good a time as any to step outside, look at the stars, and say, "O Lord, make me a tree, sturdy, deep-rooted, useful, support those in need, shelter to those who are weary, fruit for those who hunger. Make me a tree, O Lord, sturdy, deep-rooted, and useful." This is episode 1824 of 301 Permanently Moved, a personal podcast 301 seconds in length, written, recorded, and edited in 1 hour by me at the JMO. I'm busy writing talks and getting on top of work today, so this week I'm just going to read something from correspondence. It's very long, but we'll see how far we get and how much gets used. A while ago, a journalist friend and I went out for 1 or maybe 5 drinks. She had just been commissioned to write a print piece about using the web without any ad blockers installed on her web browser for the first time in her life, ever. Her plan was to document the experience, which I gather was one of shock. If you choose to look at it, the web is drowning in advertising. To say that she was finding it hard 1 week in was an understatement. Over the course of the conversation, we ended up talking a lot about attention, our shared struggles about being on social media all day, every day, YouTube, etc. What follows is a lightly edited version of an overly long follow-up email I sent a few days later, summarising some of the important points in our conversation. And as her article, for one reason or another, doesn't seem likely to ever see the light of day, I'll read a fragment or two out loud now. Your attention is sovereign. As you know, I've done a shitload of meditation in the last few years or so, 2018 especially. However, it wasn't until earlier in the summer of this year that I realised something fundamentally important. Quite frankly, it's a little embarrassing that it's taken me this long to realise it, to be honest. Your attention is sovereign. There are 2 points that should be addressed. 1. You, personally, get to decide where you put your attention. 2. By acknowledging this fact, you have to take full responsibility for where you have put your attention in the past, and where you will place it in the future. Yes, all those hours spent on Twitter, Facebook, or Netflix were influenced by dark patterns designed to monetize your attention, but ultimately, you alone are responsible. Yes, social media addiction is a thing that we hear spoken about, but the difference is that it's a habit, not an addiction. The Skinner's box that is the algorithmic interface of almost all social media platforms has trained us this way. It gets a little sticky when it comes to young children, but as James Bridle said last year, kids are engrossed in screens all the time, in pushchairs and in restaurants, but it's important that we don't make parental judgments for or on anyone else. Children sitting quietly, plugged into Peppa Pig and nursery rhymes or whatever, makes them happy and gives everyone a break, so win-win. But nevertheless, the parent is still sovereign. Adults make the decisions about where they allow their children to put their attention. And as a free, thinking adult, giving your attention to other people is just as important as considering where you put your attention. Multitasking. It gets even worse when you speak to adults who are labouring under the misguided assumption that they are a multitasker. Multitasking is largely misunderstood by everyone. Multitasking is holding a conversation whilst juggling, or walking along the road while speaking to a friend or thinking about the next talk you have to write. Multitasking can only occur when one of the behaviours you are tasking on is so automatic that you can just leave it to run whilst you do something else. What most people call multitasking, especially in the workplace, is actually task switching, moving in between single tasks rapidly, having 5 things you need to get done but struggling to finish any of them, because your focus is across 5 things and not on anything at all. A solid hour in a spreadsheet is the equivalent to 2 days of leaving a Google Sheets open and trying to slow burn it, whilst trying to respond to emails, interruptions, etc. This is largely all covered in the productivity world. Books like Deep Work or Chris Bailey's new Hyperfocus, which I haven't read, all speak to this, but I'm deeply suspicious of the term productivity in general. It has its origins on slave plantations and in the British Empire, and it makes me uneasy how management consultants and the wider business world just throw the term around. Neil Postman has that line, "People will come to adore the technologies that undo their capacities to think." But I believe if we focus on cultivating attention and try to be aware of all of our behaviours through this lens, perhaps we can start to break out of our modern cognitive atrophy. Read a book, watch the clouds from the train window, turn off the feed. I'm in Amsterdam next week when I'm meant to be recording the next podcast, so there may or may not be an episode. We'll see. Maybe I'll even do one on the run using my new portable mic.